Patreon. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Thank you. This video is about avoiding pursuit and covering your tracks. It's going to be a little bit of a longer video probably, but talking about tracking and evading tracking. Some stuff around that, some ideas that might help you. Basically, it's all about what evidence you leave behind when you're out there walking. And I'm talking, the scenario is an SHTF scenario. WROL, just one sec. Sorry about that. Yeah, so WROL situation. How to hide your presence. Whether you're bugging out, whether you're out patrolling. It's kind of the scenario is you know, maybe you're bugging out with your group, with your family, whatever. And you have to get to your bug out and you're being tracked by somebody. That's kind of the general scenario here. Avoidance is the key, obviously. Your job is to slow the trackers down, make their job more difficult, and to throw them off your trail. Disadvantages. Some of the disadvantages that you might have would be a large group, slower travel based on, maybe disabilities of somebody or smaller children, stuff like that. Also based on the fitness of your group, how quickly you can move. And the threats in the area. How quickly you'll be able to move based off of how slow you have to move to avoid threats. And how many obstacles there are to go around, fences, communities, roadblocks, defenses, whatever it may be, bad guys, those kind of things. It's all about the signs you leave behind in tracking. Footprints, obviously, number one, that's what you think of. And that depends on how you leave them behind, depends on the soil type, the terrain, moisture in the ground, wind, rain, all those kind of things. How long they stay and how long they stay fresh and easily recognizable. Let me see. Tells. Yeah, you can tell. So looking at somebody's prints, you can tell if they're carrying a heavy pack due to the depth of their footprints in some terrains, not all terrains. And I'm just talking general terrain. Kind of I'll probably use like around here for an example because this is the terrain I know about. You'll also know which, you'll be able to pick out, an experienced tracker will be able to pick out which ones are women and or children, smaller people, those kind of things. And obviously animals, if you have animals with you. Also be able to tell if you're walking, if you're running, if you are trying to avoid detection, whether or not you are walking backwards trying to throw them off your trail, because it won't work. An experienced tracker will not throw them off, because when you walk backwards, when you take a step, you land with the ball of your foot and then rotate to your heel. Whereas when you're walking forward, you land with your heel and you rotate to your ball. So, what's one way to throw trackers off? When you're walking, walk landing with your ball and then your heel. That's one way to throw off trackers. Confuse them a little bit maybe. Let me see. Oh, they'll also be able to tell you if you're ill-equipped for the journey. Whether you're, there's signs of a walking stick or a walker or stroller tracks or stuff like that, as well as really worn out shoes, the lack of tread, holes in it, damage to the treads. And each tread is like a fingerprint. Literally, it is a fingerprint. They're so unique because that specific pair of shoes leaves a specific tread pattern in the soil, right? And then, depending on where you walked, how you've lived, what damage there is to your treads, little imperfections and stuff like that. And if it's really good soil and you leave a really good track, they'll be able to tell that. And then what they can do is called, gosh, what's it called? I forget now. Oh gosh, I forget. It's like jumping ahead, basically. I'm just, the terminology, I'm brain farting. Because what they can do is they can go ahead and they can look ahead and try to pick up further down the road. They can send some people while they're if they have multiple people, they can be tracking your trail. Send somebody up ahead to look for that same significant signature of your footprint. And if they find it way up there, they can jump. They can like leapfrog positions. So that's one way they can do. Also any holes in the tread, stuff like that. Yes, so your sole of your shoe is like a fingerprint. Trackers learn the print. Oh, cutting trail. That's what it is. Cut and trail. I can also tell by number of tracks, the size of your group, how many people there are. I know in movies and stuff like that talk about walking each other's footprints. Well, that they worry a little bit, but they'll still be able to tell. An experienced tracker, that will not throw them off. They will still be able to figure out a guesstimate of how many people there are. They may not be exact, but they'll get a general idea. Detail, how much detail is left behind depends on whether it's fresh or not. Also environmental conditions, soil types, all those kind of things depend on, like that moon dust, that really fine particle, sand. No, it's not really sand, it's like dust. Those leave really, really defined footprints. So if you see that kind of stuff, try to avoid it if you're out there. Mud, try to avoid that, obviously. Also scuffs and bent grass. If you're walking through grass, experienced trackers can detect that. Skids in the dust and mud. Skids would be like if you're coming down a hill, whether you, a trick for going uphill, instead of going straight up the hill, zigzag, because then you're placing not as much force on the ground and trying to push yourself up because you're going less of an angle, so you'll leave less depth in your tracks. Another thing is when you're going downhill, do the same thing, but downhill gravity impacts the force at which your foot lands will be greater than if you're going uphill. So you have more chance of slipping or skidding or slowly eroding. If you're in a group, slowly eroding little pieces, and so then people further back in the group may slip, and those little skid marks, overturned gravel, rocks, those kind of things, pebbles. Wind-blown indicators. Some of the wind-blown indicators, if you got a track, and then there's little bits of debris around the edges, that means that the footprint was made before wind came through there. So trackers can kind of get an idea based on the depth or the clarity of your footprint, whether it's been rained on, whether it's been dusted with wind, when you went through there, because they know, okay, well, it rained yesterday, or it rained earlier today, or it was really windy earlier today. Those kind of things. You can base how far you are behind somebody by all these indicators. Signs above, branches and stuff like that. If you're walking through here, you're going to be breaking stuff. I mean, it's inevitable if you're in thick underbrush and stuff like that. Also, night signs. Night signs are where you go through an area with you leave some kind of trail, some kind of indicator. A tracker finds it, and then they see animals come out at night to hunt, right? So they see little animal footprints over top of your footprints. That means that you went through there before it became dark, before the animals started coming out and hunting. One thing that's different, though, is for birds. If you went through there sometime and then there's bird tracks in it, they know that sometime during the day the bird went over there. So that may be fresh. We don't really know. That's not really a solid indicator. Let me see. Night sign, animal tracks, yeah. Fog, dew, rain, wind, all these things affect the ability to have a clear footprint, a clear indicator. Ineffective things are trying to cover your tracks. Sweeping. Sweeping just makes a new sign. It just makes another sign that it can be able to tell. Like if you do bristles on like one of these branches on a fir tree or a pine tree, they're going to be able to tell they went through there. They may not be able to tell your specific track, but they'll still be able to tell somebody went through there. So that's not really that effective of a means. Roughing. Just if you rough up the ground, displaces little pebbles and rocks and stuff like that. They'll still be able to tell you went through there. Trash. Pick up your trash. Leave no trace, just like the Boy Scouts. Don't leave your trash around. If you have to go poop, well, then put it in a bag. Take it with you. Or bury it really well off to the side underneath some bushes or something like that. Same with pee. Pee off the trail and stuff. But pick up all your mess. Police your area. Minimize the trail visual indicators. Do not stand on a ridge line. For one thing, if you're going over a ridge, don't spend much time there. Cross as quickly as you can, get to the other side. Do not track across a ridge line because you'll be silhouetted. Everybody will see you. Do not move across open country unless you can't help it. Avoid soft soil. Avoid washes like old creek beds because they stay dry. But what happens is your footprint will stay there for days, if not weeks, because of the fact that it's really dry until the next like flood water comes through there or something like that. Avoid bunching your group. Spread your group out. Avoid single file in grass because then what you're going to do is you're going to keep beating it down and make like a super highway visible to everybody. If you're moving through a field of grass, move abreast. Move like if you have 4 people, then walk apart from each other, spread apart across the field. You'll leave less indicators that way. Let me see. jump trail. That's how you leave the trail. Basically, you cut off 90 degrees, cover up your tracks, go far enough away using a natural barrier in between you and the old track, and then start tracking again. It's a way to throw off potential trackers. And if like you want to confuse them to get back, then do that and then go back and backtrack them, kind of like you set up an ambush. That's how you can cut trails, set up an ambush for them when they're coming along. Not single file. If you're like, say you're 4 people and you're going along, you want to cut trail, okay, give the signal cut trail, and then what you do is you all just leave the trail at the same time, covering your own tracks. You need to mitigate your signs left behind, obviously, and you want to place a natural barrier, an obstacle between you and your old track. Uphill, it's harder to observe something uphill because, a lot of people wear hats, you're walking along it, you're looking here, you're not looking up. But elevation gives you better line of sight, gives you better view, so you want the high ground. There's a thing called the military crest of the hill. Not the crest, but you want to be down some so that you're still using the trees and stuff for cover, but you can see better and you're not going to be silhouetted. So that's where you want to be. Crossing linear danger areas like roads, trails, streams, rivers, stuff like that. You can do it single file, but it takes a lot of time. Or you can just like 4 abreast, go across slowly, or you can just rush across and then cover your tracks and try to move on like that. You can leave obvious tracks in the road if you want, or if you're in a time crunch, or you can take care of them as you go. Let me see. Yeah, I talked about grass as abreast. Move slow. Watch your foot placement. Watch what you're stepping on. Those kind of things. Sorry, it's getting dark. This video to take a little bit. So what can you do? One thing you can do is clothing. Clothing matters also. If you're in an urban environment or a suburban environment, maybe you want to be kind of gray man. If you're out in the rural environment like this in the woods, you want to be natural earth tones or camouflage. Because part of tracking is the people that are tracking you they still have eyes, they can still visually see you. Oh, hey, there they are moving because they're wearing red and yellow and stuff like that. You don't want that. Slow movement also stops that. Boonie hats help break up the outline of a head. A veil, like a sniper veil or a ghillie suit, all these kind of things help break up your outline. So if you're moving slowly and deliberately in a wooded environment, when he's using forms of camouflage, you'll be much less likely to be seen visually. Carpet shoes, I'm going to be doing a video about those. Basically, it's carpet like you have in your house. Just flip it over upside down, cut a piece off that's the size of your foot, a little bit bigger. So either 550 cord, Velcro, something like that to attach it over your shoe, so it replaces the tread, and then you walk on it. It leaves a lot less visual signatures, and it's a very good trick. Unless they're an experienced tracker, they're probably not. That'll probably throw them off. So in an SHTF WRL scenario, if it's just a bunch of thugs tracking you, well, that'll throw them off. Throw those things on, they won't be able to see you. It's a trick down used on the border for drug traffickers across the Mexican-American border and stuff like that. Those are really cool. I'll do a video on that. It's a pretty cool thing. Brush out your tracks. So if you want to brush out your tracks, how do you do it? Grab a cloth, a shirt, a shemagh, a towel, a rag, something like that, and just kind of beat it. What that does is it doesn't displace the whole area, just hit the track. And then what that does is it mutes it. It makes some other dust kind of go into it, and it may eliminate it totally. It may not. There still may be some track, but it'll make it less obvious. So there's 3 important positions if you have 3 people. You want the point man, you want your rear watch, and you want your scout, and then everybody else in the middle. First I'll cover rear watch. Very, very important. Okay, rear watch, not only do they need to be observing the trail, making sure that everybody's not leaving sign or trash or different things like that along the side. Their job is to police it as you go, to make sure that everything's fine. And then they're also supposed to keep eyes behind you to observe the tracking party, if they're catching up to you, stuff like that. All right, so that's really important. These 3 positions are all really important. Your point man selects the track, the course, where you go, what is the best course to follow to leave the least amount of track and or keep you guys safe. And then the scout is very demanding and physical. He needs to be everywhere, moving all around, scouting way up ahead, giving the point man information about where to go, looking for enemy, looking for threats, keeping an eye on what's behind, even maybe circling back around. He's moving a lot, so he needs to know, he or she needs to be very, very adept at covering their tracks and probably that's gonna be like your most competent person. They're not detected. They need to be like ninja, super secret ninja squirrel. Okay, that's that person. Um, Elevation matters. When you're on the ground, you can see about 3 miles. When you're up 100 foot of elevation, you can see, what is it, 10, or no, 12 miles. 12 miles. If you're up 200 feet, you can see 17 miles. So if you're up there, you can much better see like who's tracking you, what's up ahead, what threats are there, what threats are behind you, all those kind of things. Use of natural cover and concealment as you're moving. Yes, of course. Stay off of ridges. Use shadow and terrain. And number one thing is take your time. Take your time. Deliberate action. And slow moving. Make sure you're tracked. I mean, if you're being pursued like they're chasing you, well, just run. Don't worry about them tracking you. Try to get away from them. Or break trails, set up an ambush, and take them out. Something like that. I mean, even if they outnumber you, you may still be successful if you hit them with an overwhelming violence of action, and if they're not trained very well. These are all things I hope they help you out. I hope you look forward to the video about the carpet shoes. I'll try to get that done maybe this weekend sometime. I'll make that a project with my kids and I. And I apologize about the light I'm losing. But I love you guys. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you guys. I hope you guys like these kind of videos more. I'd like doing more videos like this, more informational, more, just giving you guys good information, talking about things like this, showing you more examples. I want to do more stuff like that. Sometimes I don't have time to do it. Like right now, I'm running out of light. But you know what? Hey, I got to do what I got to do, right? I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure you're prepping a little day, please, even if it's just going for a walk, even if it's doing some push-ups or some sit-ups or watching a couple of videos, informational, learning about canning, looking at more stuff about tracking. Watch videos about it. I'm not a master tracker. I'm pretty good, but, hey, there's a lot better out there. Watch canning videos. Work on your garden, stuff, something towards preparedness every day. Maybe pick up a couple items at the store. But anyway, I love you guys, and blessings to you and yours.